Good evening, this Tuesday evening, wherever you are. Realmies, we're so glad you're here. This third installment of our book backpack series. If you haven't had a chance to see the others, you can view them on the Realm Makers YouTube channel. So encourage you to go and do that. They've been amazing. We've spent just a short amount of time on some very specific things tonight. We're excited to have Jill Williamson teach us on loglines, and I'm sure she'll go into a little bit more about what that means and why we need them. Jill is amazing, award-winning author, science fiction and fantasy. She's going to be a conference presenter this year, teaching on making the most of Goodreads and creating a timeline for your novel, which I am in desperate need of. So excited for that. But don't want to take up too much of your time, Jill. I'm going to let you take it away and teach us about loglines.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm honored to be here, and I love talking about loglines. So that's fun. Let me see here. I made a little PowerPoint. I'm going to try to share my screen. All right. Do you guys see the box that says Intro to Loglines? All right, sweet. Okay, so let's see what happens when I click down. It's really magical having two monitors, I have to tell you. Okay, so a logline, basically what we're talking about here is you're going to have to pitch your novel at a conference to someone. And even if you're not going to pitch to an editor or an agent, you're going to be talking to people all the time, and they're going to say, what do you write? And what happens to all of us at some point in our life is that we ramble. We ramble on and on, talking all of a sudden on the spot, talking about our story, trying to get it, to explain it. And it's, these are novels, and we're writing fantasy and sci-fi, so they're epic and huge in our head, and we just start spilling things out and we ramble, and then we start to think, at least I do, oh my gosh, I am rambling, I need to stop. So it really helps to have a log line or a little short description of your book, so that when people ask you what you can write, you can just kind of say it. And it packs such a powerful punch when you can do that. And I still haven't done that for some of my books, and people will ask me, what's this about? And I'll catch myself rambling still. So I keep saying, one of these days I need to sit down and make sure there's a log line for every single book I've ever written so that I can explain them better. But this usually happens to me when I'm at like selling books at a conference or some sort of a Comic-Con event, and people ask me what my book's about. So you're going to be asked what your book's about forever as writers, whether we're pitching it to try to make a sale, or pitching an actual physical copy to a potential reader to make a sale, or just talking. So I'd like to start with this picture of the White House exploding from Independence Day, because this is the perfect example of what we want to do with a logline. Now, this isn't a logline per se, but way back when, the year before this movie came out, I don't remember what year it was, I want to say 1996 or something, my husband and I saw a movie, I don't know what movie, but there was a preview for Independence Day. And my husband said to me, when the White House exploded, I knew I had to see it. He was ready to buy tickets right then. The sale was made because they did a good job of capturing just baiting him. He was hooked. He was hooked by that premiere, that preview for that movie. And that's kind of what we want to do with a logline, but we're going to do it with words, because we don't have a really cool video that we can show of our, we don't have that. So we have to use words. And so that is our goal, is to say something with words that makes people, an editor, an agent, as excited as my husband was to see Independence Day, that he was counting 365 days until he could see it. So basically, this is the concept of the pitch, is where you're going to give your story idea out there, and you hope that that agent or editor is going to catch it and run all the way to the bank and give you a book contract. So the logline makes the pitch a lot easier. The first time I learned about loglines, oddly, was at my very first writers conference in Anaheim, California, and Steve Lobby was the keynote. It was a little teeny 1.5 day conference, and he taught about the pitch. And I took copious notes, and then he gave us a chance to do the pitch, and I ignored all the notes and rambled and rambled. And he finally was like, no thanks, next. So I was like, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything he said. So it's really helpful to be prepared, especially if you're going to pitch to someone you're hoping to, who might publish your book. You want to be prepared. So basically, you're summarizing the premise of your novel in one sentence. In 1 or 2 sentences, you're going to give a description of the story that tells us what happens to who and why. That's kind of really all we need. It's really tempting when we've created these really epic story worlds to add the cool names of things, but I highly recommend you don't. Stick with a man, a woman, a boy, a girl. We don't need to hear, an alien, the names of the alien races or the fantasy countries or all those things, because anytime a listener hears something new and they need things that they can anchor to. So once they like your idea, your logline, your premise, they want to read your story, then they can discover all the cool ways that you've put together your story world and the words you use for that. But you want to kind of just give us the what happens to who and why. So here's an example of a logline. An ugly duckling FBI agent goes undercover as a contestant to catch a killer at the Miss America pageant. I love this little logline because it tells us so much. It doesn't just say, an FBI agent, a female FBI agent. It says an ugly duckling FBI agent. So that the adjectives you use to describe your main character is really important. You want it to be the right one because it can say so much. So ugly duckling in a beauty pageant, that's contrast, that's conflict, that's funny, right? We can already know from hearing that before we even knew what the movie was about that this is going to be entertaining. And so it tells us who and what's going to happen, and hints at a whole lot of funniness. So that one, and it pairs really well with the title of the story too. So here are my ingredients for a logline. You need an inciting incident, a character with an adjective, the right adjective, the hero's primal story goal, if you can, something that's really high stakes, and then what's at stake. Okay. And so we can come back to those if we need to write them down, but so here I have 2 little fill in the blanks. So my first one says, I should have my PowerPoint open on the other screen. Let me see if I can do it. Okay, so when the inciting incident happens to the main character with that adjective, he must, 3 is the hero's do the story goal. He must accomplish the story goal before 4, the what's at stake happens. So that's the first little fill in the blank. And then I have another one where it's a little bit different, where it just kind of flips things around, which sometimes, depending on what you're saying, sounds better. So here we would have a character adjective, does or experiences the inciting incident, and then they must accomplish that primal story goal before the what's at stake happens. Okay, so these little things, I use these all the time, and they don't always stay perfectly in their little word frames, their sentence frames, but a lot of times they do, because they work, these little sentence frames, and I like them, and they help me because otherwise I feel super overwhelmed of how am I going to stick my 150,000 word book into one sentence. So these help me a lot. So here's one that I wrote for Magic Hunters, which is the new book that I'm going to have come out in a couple weeks. It's a middle grade fantasy that my husband wrote, and I stole from him, kind of, sort of, not really, but yes. So my logline is, when a young boy, and see, young is not great, I need to work on that. I need a better adjective. When a young boy accidentally banishes magic, he must find someone to help him undo the spell before a mysterious army takes over the land. And so I put, I did it again here with colors. You can see the who is my young boy. And I really should get a better word, like he's, something that shows this is going to be hard for him. So he's not confident. So I don't know. I'd have to work on that. His obstacle is that he's banished magic. The stakes, I added stakes to this one, which I don't know if I had in my first one. Oh, his goal, he must find someone to help him undo the spell and then stakes before a mysterious army takes over the land. So this has all the ingredients, and I can explain that really quickly. Here's one from my friend Stephanie's book, The Revised Life of Ellie Sweet. It says an outcast teen finds therapy writing her enemies into her story, but when her novel is published, she faces the consequences of using her pen as her sword. So this one has all the same ingredients. I don't know. I guess the stakes are kind of what I've got there, an obstacle. They're kind of together. When her novel is published, it's going to be this. It's both the thing she's wanted forever, and now her friends are going to find out that they're all in the book. So here you have, I've underlined outcast teen is the who, and that's a good adjective for that teen because it helps, she's the outcast and she's finding therapy writing, which many of us writers might completely relate to, like, oh yeah, that's a good way to cope with something frustrating in your life. But then her novel's going to get published, and now all of her friends are going to find out what she's been, how she's been getting her free therapy with her writing. I love that book. Okay, so I want to just really briefly, before we take questions, mention high concept ideas. So the high concept idea is a Hollywood thing, and it's the idea of an intriguing idea that can be stated in a few words and it's easily understood by all. It's very similar to a logline. Here is a high concept it's universal. So when you're a story that will appeal to everyone, and I don't know if you've heard. Now my brain doesn't want to say his name. Oh man, there was that gentleman who helped promote Harry Potter, whose name David Farland. Thank you, Jill. Rain, cut up. David Farland once told the story about how he was asked by Scholastic to promote a book out of this box of books, and he had them all in his house, and he let his wife and kids look at all the books, and the one they were all reading and fighting over was Harry Potter because it appealed to his son, it appealed to his daughter, it appealed to his wife, and he liked it too. So it was a universal story, even though it's technically about a boy, an 11-year-old boy. It appealed to more than just one narrow audience. So a high concept is universal, but it's unique. It's not something that's been done over and over. You want to find a twist for it. It has an empathetic hero dealing with a big problem, and it can be summed up in a few words. It also has a great title. And this, if you think back to Miss Congeniality, great title, so fun. It fits these categories. And so I have a couple here. Here's Jaws. The high concept is a horror film in the ocean. At the time, that was a high concept. Now it's been done to death. Everybody's copied Jaws. But the logline is a police chief with a phobia for open water battles a gigantic shark with an appetite for swimmers, in spite of a greedy town council who demands that the beach stay open. So this has all those same logline ingredients. You can see the water phobia police chief is a good contrast for a character who has to deal with this particular problem. And then you've got your conflicts there too. Let's see what else I have. Here's one for the fugitive. The high concept is an innocent man is convicted of killing his wife. And the logline, a fugitive doctor wrongly convicted of killing his wife struggles to prove his innocence while being pursued by a relentless U.S. Marshal. And then I've got Who Framed Roger Rabbit. High concept, a cop must enter cartoon land to solve a crime. And the logline is a tune-hating detective is a cartoon rabbit's only hope to prove his innocence when he is accused of murder. I don't know about you, but I like to see examples of others' loglines when I'm trying to work on one. And so I have a long list somewhere on my computer with just hundreds of loglines from movies. They help me sometimes. Jurassic Park. Dinosaur theme park is the high concept. The logline is a family struggles to escape a remote island park whose main attractions, genetically restored dinosaurs, have been set loose by a power failure. So at the time, these movies that I've read the loglines for, they were all extremely original. They hadn't been done before. They didn't have sequels or spin-offs or anything like that. They were all unique. And so when you're trying to think about your own story, how can you best present it in the light of being unique and being something fresh that hasn't been done to death? So I have this little list where you can test your idea. You can ask yourself, is it universal? Does it appeal to a wide audience? Does it have a unique twist? Are you melding something familiar with something strange? Is your protagonist likable, relatable, or sympathetic? Are the stakes big enough? Are they primal? Are they life and death? Is the story world intriguing? Is the story marketable? Does the book fit your author brand? This is something that I get into trouble with. I've done really poorly in this area. Can you summarize your idea in a few short words? If you're still not sure, try writing a few chapters to see what happens. Okay, so this slide, I threw this slideshow together really quickly today. So that one is not quite what we're talking about today, but you do want to test your logline and see how it fits. And you know what? Not every story has to be a high concept. Not every story has to be something that appeals to a universal audience. And so that might not be the story you're writing. But if you do have hopes to have a really big story with a high concept, I suggest that you test that and see if you have those ingredients. All right, so any questions? Let me stop sharing. All right.
Okay, so Jill, would it be helpful for me to read them, or do you want to just scroll down the chat? It's completely up to you.
Are they in the chat, you said? Okay.
Yeah, and Laura had a question early on, so I'll grab that one real quick for you. She said, can you explain further what you mean by primal story goal?
Yes, primal story goal. So hold on a second here. I'm going to Google it because I know what I mean, but there's a list of things and I never get them all right. So primal is something that we could all relate to. So there's certain ones, and life and death is one. So like if the world's going to end, that's something that's primal. It's going to be a survival type of a thing. Love is one, finding true love in your life, not being alone. So love is a primal story goal. Let's see, taking care of your family a lot of times. So a lot of times if you think about what are some of these things that are the stakes in a movie's plot, it can be, love, saving the world, saving some sort of family member, protecting them or your family, these kinds of things. And it could also be protecting yourself or something you care about that is, if you're thinking about something like, this succeeding in my career is all I've ever lived for, and now now it's threatened, and I'm going to do everything I can to be who I am, and be, that kind of a thing can be also primal. The fugitive, he's wrongly accused, that's primal. He's going to be put in jail for something he didn't do. So it involves the stakes being really important. So not something like, if I fail in the mission to solve this story, then I'm gonna lose my reputation or something. Might not be as big as, it's going to destroy the world. That's kind of what it means by the primal thing. And you can Google it. So many people have talked about it right now. Survival, love, survival. Those are the ones that are coming to mind.
And then Laura had a follow-up to that, and you may have answered it already. The story goal, and then the primal stakes. And then I'm going to mute myself again, but if you guys wanted to, if you want to try out some log lines, like if you want to put them in the chat or something and we can read over them, like something from your own story, or maybe something from, like a well-known story that you think, maybe this is the log line or whatever, and maybe Jill, you could look at it and see if that's, kind of on the right track, or so if you guys want.
Yeah, Laura, I don't know. Did I answer your question with story goal? What do you mean by primal stakes? It's the same kind of it's not what's at stake. It needs to be something that's big, and matters to the audience, something that the audience is going to get behind. If you've ever read a book where you're like, I just don't care, then they're not nailing the stakes. There's something you need to make them care. Let's see. What if the world you create has already been done, but you want to create something similar, but your own idea? Can it still be marketed? Yes. The book Magic Hunters that I stole from my husband, it's basically a world of all the fairy tales and nursery rhymes. Everything's in it. So we've just tried to find everything we could find that was in the public domain. And even if it's not, we sometimes hinted at things carefully. And so it's not going to appeal to everyone because some people don't like retellings. But retellings are still super popular. And so you can, it just depends. I'm not sure what you mean exactly by the world's been done. You're probably not talking about a retelling per se, but you just need to find a way to do it in your own way that's different. Put a spin on it. Because, people say this all the time, everything's been done, right? What can we do different? Could you show me the blank slide again? Oh, yeah. I wonder, is there a way I can put a file here? Share a file with everybody? I don't know if there is. I feel like there is.
If you have a link to it, we can post it in the description of the of YouTube later, or we can upload it in the Realm Sphere for the people on Zoom, or you can put it in the chat if it's like a link.
Oh, let me see if I can put it in the chat right now. I just found that little button. Loglines. There it is. Okay, it's going. See if you guys can get loglines. I normally would have made it a PDF. I didn't even think about it. I just uploaded the PowerPoint file. So if you can't upload a PowerPoint or open a PowerPoint, I can save it as a PDF as well. How long does it take me to create a logline? Well, just because I can create one sort of fast doesn't mean it's the best one. So I have those little sentence frames, and I love my little sentence frames, and I plug things in. But like I said, the one I threw together my Magic Hunters one in like 30 seconds, and it's not great. I didn't get a really good adjective from my hero. I need to think about it more, and so I think it also helps to get feedback. When you write a logline, send it to some of your critique partners and ask them what they think, and tell them, and especially if your critique partners have read your book, then they'll be able to give you good feedback because they'll know your story. Okay, let's look. I'm going to save it as a PDF here in just a second, but I'm going to look at some of these loglines too. Let's see here. Desktop. Okay, there it goes. So let's see, from YouTube. Henry strives to be champion bolt basher, but can he reach the championship and save the world from the alien race, the infected? Okay, so this is a good example of using words from your story world that we don't know what they mean. So bolt basher, it sounds really cool, but I don't know what it means as somebody who isn't familiar with your story. So can you phrase it in a way, Henry wants to be the champion of some kind, is there another way you could word that to say like a contest that's a little that we don't have to understand? If you can phrase it in a way that everybody can understand what you're going for, even if the words in your story are going to be different, if that makes sense. So he wants to win it, but why? What are the stakes? You're saying the stakes are saving the world from being infected by an alien race. So my question would be, if he wins, does that mean he saves the world? Because then I would phrase it like, I need my sentence frames again. When an alien race threatens the world, Henry must win the championship to protect them from being infected or something. You know, sometimes just playing around with rewording them can help. Let me open this again. Let's see here. I just put it on the desktop and I'm looking for it. Loglines, there it is. Okay, here comes the PDF version of the notes. Okay, it's uploading. Let me see, who else should we have? A cursed princess must unravel the lies of her kingdom before her heart turns to stone. Interesting. That's pretty good. I want to know more. I want to know how the lies are tied to her heart turning to stone. But you do have all the ingredients there, Tabitha. So, and remember, the logline is not, it's just to pique the interest of the person you're telling to, and then they'll say, tell me more. Usually that's what happens, is once you say something and oh, tell me more, and you'll be ready to explain more. But you could tweak that a little bit, Tabitha. I'm not sure how, but to try to see if you can make it clear how that ties together, how the unraveling the lies and her heart turning to stone. Okay, let's see. Rachel has one. A precocious space cadet infiltrates a secret program at her academy when her best friend mysteriously loses her personality. Okay, again, this one, for some reason, I want to flip it. I want to put the when her best friend loses her personality, or when her best friend, and maybe I'm wrong to flip it. So it's just I play with them. So that's what you're going to want to do too. I think I'm assuming that the best friend is a student at this space cadet program. So when a best friend mysteriously loses her personality at the space cadet program, the friend infiltrates. But maybe you said a precocious space cadet, so maybe she's at the same program too. It's kind of hard to do without feedback.
Well, Jill, for the people that are on Zoom, we can just ask them to unmute and talk to you if you want questions to your answers.
That's fine.
If they're on YouTube, it won't work, but if they're here on Zoom, absolutely.
Okay, Rachel, do you want to unmute? So I was just doing yours. I don't know if Rachel's there. She's there. You don't have to if you don't want to. I won't put you on the spot.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they're classmates at the same space academy.
Okay. Okay.
And her friend was in the secret program and then mysteriously lost her personality. So now she's infiltrating to figure out what happened.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I see you've got it all there. Yeah. And I see that you're using words secret program where you probably have a name for it in your book, but because we wouldn't know what it means, you've used words that are a little more general to help. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the kind of thing that does help an agent or editor who doesn't know your book. If you called it, some acronym that means,
Yep.
nothing. And they'd be like, I don't know what that means, but so that's a good job. Yeah, this isn't bad. This has got all the ingredients. It's just, what I tend to do is write them several ways and flip them around and then have them like all on a sheet and read them. And sometimes I end up taking parts from this one and that one and playing with them. And like I said, it does help to be able to send some of your favorites to some of your friends and get some feedback. And you need the kind of friends though who aren't just the ones who always say everything's great. You need the ones who are really good at picking them apart. And so, yeah, for some reason, because I feel like it makes it more mysterious, I want to rearrange this one and start with when her friend mysteriously has this problem, then she goes.
Okay.
But I don't know why. That's just my preference, perhaps, just kind of start with that inciting incident. So you could try it that other way and see what comes of it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, let's see, from YouTube, in this remix of the Snow Queen and Lewis Carroll's Alice books, Alice must return to Wonderland to save the childhood friend she thought was dead without destroying Wonderland in the process. Interesting. I think that one has plenty of ingredient. Like if I was an editor or an agent, I would know right away if my publishing house or if I was an agent, if I had some way to sell retellings, I would know, okay, this is something I'm looking for or not. So I think it's good that you've put that remix in there, so that'll give a clue to the person you're pitching it to. And then I'm curious why the friend is there and why she needs saving, like what's going on. Like what's the inciting incident? How does she find out that the friend is there and in trouble? But again, the way you have it is, I think, is going to be enough to have the editor or agent say, tell me more. Because just like I'm saying, tell me more. I feel like this could be really cool. So I'm asking the kind of questions that I would think an editor and agent will ask, like, why is this happening? And then you're going to be able to answer. And hopefully that conversation goes and they're more and more intrigued. So if you can figure out a way to put the inciting incident in there, then that would be good. I think, but let's see here. All right, Sophia has one. When invaders from a dying world terraform a water-covered planet, dividing the deep and its amphibian people, a rookie guardian ventures above water to find her missing sister. Okay. From a dying. Okay. So this has some really good stuff in here. We don't know what a guardian is. I'm assuming the guardian is probably someone from the planet who's not one of the invaders. That's what you. Oh, I see you. So let's see here. When you have this kind of really cool sci-fi and fantasy with all this really cool stuff going on, it's really hard to try to decide what to leave out and what to put in. I think you need to decide, do we need to know about the invaders terraforming the planet in the log line? And maybe we do, because I don't know your story. Why is the girl missing? Do we know why she went missing? And how does the girl know she went above water? Do you know what I mean? You can unmute yourself, Sophia, if you want to.
I always like to unmute myself. I think we could take out the part about the rookie guardian, because honestly, it's a small part of the story. It's her journey is to find her sister, but it's a new adult situation.
So the plot is the search for the sister.
It is, and there was never any land on the planet before the invaders terraformed it.
Oh,
So, and I have challenges because I don't want to say water all over the place, but So like dividing the deep would, I don't know if I should just say dividing the waters, because it's the first time the waters are divided, and that's the title of the story. Waters break. So
You could cut the words from a dying world. You could just say, when invaders terraform a water-covered planet, um, a girl must, I want to say something like, you might have a really big intro, which is a no-no in your prose for writing, but when invaders terraform a water-covering planet and a girl explores that, then above water, a girl goes exploring above water and disappears. You kind of need, I feel like the inciting incident most likely is that the sister disappears. She goes exploring and doesn't come back. And so then your main character needs to go find her. Am I making that up?
well, the inciting incident is that the planet gets bombarded and they don't know who, what, or whatever. It's just as they're trying to find people, they never do find her sister. And so she goes on this new surface above the water and
Okay.
is
Okay.
taken captive and that's when she discovers that there are new people. So it's
Okay.
a very complicated story.
It sounds awesome. I'm serious. It sounds really cool. So yeah, then maybe, did you say she never finds a sister?
She goes above water to find her sister. She searches in the oceans and she isn't able to find her there. Nobody is. But a lot of people have gone missing and they don't know if they're dead or missing, and they don't even realize that it's an outside force that's caused this intentionally.
Oh.
And they don't, only the people that go above water are discovered, and then they're usually taken captive. So
maybe you want to get your stakes to be something. So am I guessing right that at some point they start to figure out who the invaders are and they realize that this is who they're facing, it's the bad guys?
yes, and she discovers that, and then eventually she's able to communicate to the people in the water, and they eventually orchestrate an escape. So
Okay.
not without much, suffering.
Okay. So when invaders terraform a water-covered planet, causing chaos to the inhabitants or something like that, a girl searches for her lost sister, must find her lost sister before the invaders, I don't know what is the make everybody their slaves, or I don't know what the invaders end goal is, but
I could even just add, instead of when she goes above water to find her sister, she's taken captive instead.
okay.
And because that's the bulk of the story, is her captivity.
What
Spoiler,
is
eventual escape.
well, we have to talk spoilers when we're doing this because we need to kind of so what is the stakes of her being taken captive though? What are they going to do to these captives?
She's eventually impregnated by hybrids, and she realizes that even though she's trying to survive, she does not want her child to be born into captivity, and that's what motivates her to take the risk to try to escape. So.
Okay, so okay, so we're getting closer to some good stakes here. You might want to play with, and maybe you don't, I don't know. I'm not as strong with sci-fi as I am with fantasy, but you might want to play with the idea of alien, the alien abduction. The concept of an alien abduction is something that maybe will click a little bit closer with someone who doesn't know your story and is just hearing something. So you could say, instead of saying taken captive, abducted by the invaders or something, when she must find her sister before they're both abducted by the invaders or whatever. And something like that.
Okay,
play with that and see if that, I don't know. All right, let's see how we're doing. Let's see, Jenny. When a warrior from a mythical world accidentally travels through a portal to ours, he must find the desire to leave the woman he's fallen in love with here and return to meet his destiny in the old world. Oh, um, let's see. Is Jenny here? Jenny, are you here? I have questions.
There we go. Unmuting yourself. Hi.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Jenny. You're gonna have to tell me the ending.
He has an epiphany here and he goes back.
He goes back?
He does, yeah. But he promises to come back for her. That's the next book.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. So, okay, so the stakes, what are the stakes of the story? Like what? So he gets to the world and he's wanting to get back right away, probably until he falls in love with the person.
Well, yes and no, he's not.
Oh.
He's actually, I probably, in another sort of blurb I've written, he's a reluctant second son. See, then it's more than one sentence, isn't it? He's a reluctant second son of the High King, who just wants freedom and not to have his future all mapped out for him. That's something he has to do. So he's a bit rebellious. So when he comes to our world, he's quite happy to have a break from that and the bullying from his elder brother. But like I said, he has this epiphany while he's here and realizes he's got to go back. So he does. But by then he's fallen in love with the young woman, and then it's all that angst about he's got to leave her and all that lot. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe, and this is just my 2 cents, but something like when a reluctant lesser prince or something, I don't know, play with that, accidentally travels through a portal to our world, he thinks he's found the perfect life until, well, no, because then if he falls in love, that's even more perfect. I think what perhaps is missing is his goal. Like, what is his goal? He's come here, he's happy here, he's meeting this girl. What's at stake? Is there something he's supposed to do back home that?
Yeah.
What's that?
His home is being threatened. His half of the world, half of the landmass that he lives on is being threatened by a greedy clan chief on the other half of the world, half of this world is about to invade his land. And he's actually the second son of the High King, who is the war chief. But like he says, he wants to be able to choose to do that, not be made to do that. He's having a bit of a hissy fit, you see. She actually says to him, "You're having a hissy fit." Well, that's part of his epiphany. So if he doesn't go back, because he's a really good warrior and a really good leader, and all these people look up to him, all these warriors look up to him. If he doesn't go back, they're going to be a bit leaderless. And they're going to be more vulnerable to Lord Kirin, who's wanting to invade. And while he's in our world, his father's actually killed by, the king is killed by a dragon that Lord Kirin has, with his mages, has set upon him. See, there's so much more in, just a paragraph, but yeah. So the stakes are, if he doesn't go back, they're going to be stuffed, basically.
How does he know what goes on in the other world?
He doesn't find that out till he gets back, but the reader knows that. He just knows.
Between worlds, you show the different.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes it even harder when you have multiple points of view and you're trying to like pick one. You might come at it from a different angle. Again, this is just my 2 cents. And because I don't know your book, it might not be helpful, but like I feel like since the stakes involve the other world and the role he's supposed to fulfill and is trying to shirk, you might want to start there. When a kingdom is on the brink of disaster or whatever, or war or whatever, a reluctant prince accidentally travels through a porthole to a world where none of his problems matter, or where he doesn't have to deal with any of his whatever.
Yeah.
And even though he falls in love with a beautiful woman, she challenges him to fulfill to fulfill his purpose in life and go back and save his people from sheer destruction. I don't know. I'm just randomly. Do you know what I mean? You kind of need to include both worlds, I think, to make the stakes work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, let's see here. We've got, how are we doing? We doing okay? Keep going.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Andy has, when darkness infects the realm of dolls, the Nutcracker Prince once presided over, a bereaved in return the cursed prince and the realm's magical center to the capital, all while learning to trust her new companions with the safety of her decaying world and her ever-deepening secrets. Cool, Nutcracker retelling. Okay. This one, we're going to want to try to trim some words here and there and tighten it if you can. Is the Nutcracker Prince the bad guy? Let's see, where's Andy?
I'm here.
There you are.
No, he is not the antagonist.
Okay. Do you want to put that in there to kind of give a clue as to your retelling world?
Mhm. Yeah. I figure this will change. My antagonist story just changed some, but I figured I'd get some feedback.
Okay. Well, this is a good, I can just throw this out here. You can always, before you give your logline, you can always say it's this meets that or something. So or
Okay.
I've done a Nutcracker spinoff, if you want to, and that way you don't have to stress about trying to fit that word in there if it doesn't feel like it fits. I'm just
Okay.
So let's see. So then you could start with a bereaved snow fairy. Must find and return the cursed prince and the realm's magical center to the capital. To trust her new companions. So why must she? What's happened that's where's the cursed prince and the realm's magic? Like, what's happened in the world that she's trying to fix?
Yeah, the prince was missing, and it's a book, and the book was stolen, and she finds them in another realm and has to bring them back.
Okay, so what about when the prince and the magic book go missing? A snow fairy must find them and bring them back before stakes happen.
Okay.
I feel like that would simplify it a little bit. And then you can always go back in and add a word here and there to
Okay.
fill it in.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah,
say,
no.
like, what did I say? I don't know what I just said. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
I want to read all of these stories, you guys. Good job. So Laura says, I'm thinking my logline draft is fit. A traumatized 20-something discovers supernatural abilities she must embrace to survive. Okay, Laura, where's Laura? There you are. So you're grinning. Let's see.
It's that short because I read something recently that said I needed to have it at less than 15 words. So I was like, cut.
Well, it does depend on that. If somebody's saying you have to have it less than a certain words, then you have to have it less than a certain words. Most log lines, I didn't actually say it, but I always tried to keep it close to 20 or fewer. But if you have to do 15, then you have to do 15. But you could also play with it and try to fit it into my little structure more.
Well, that was a resource I was looking at. It wasn't necessarily like a requirement that somebody put out that I'm submitting it to.
Oh. Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, here's what I want to know. I want to know what's the plot of the story? Is it one of those kind of fish out of water stories where she's learning how to use her powers?
A little bit. She kind of has a little bit of a traumatized background growing up, and so has been playing it safe, but gets attacked and is so thrown into kind of a life or death situation that brings out these powers, and she's got to learn how to use them before she ends up coming to face with this person who's out to kill her.
Okay, well, that sounds, it's funny. Sometimes when someone asks you to explain it, you say it perfectly. It's like you needed to record yourself just then and write all that down. So basically you said maybe when I don't know if you need the word traumatized in there. I can understand why you want it in there because that's important to her character, but you might want something like when maybe, I mean, yeah, I guess you could leave it in there. When a traumatized 20-something is attacked, supernatural abilities she didn't know she had come to the surface. And she must learn to use them before the man hunting her gets to her first, or I don't know, that doesn't sound good, but do you see what I'm trying to go for? How does she discover the guy somebody's looking for her? Does she know that? Is that connected to her traumatized past?
She doesn't exactly know that, but when she's attacked, the police are looking for the people that attacked her. So she knows they're out there. She later discovers there was somebody behind the attack, and that's who she ends up facing. So it's like she knows there's somebody out there to get her, but she doesn't know like who until towards
They
the
want
end.
her because of her powers?
Yes.
Okay. So when a 20-something girl, person, whoever is attacked, her supernatural abilities are revealed, and she must learn to use them when she realizes she has been hunted or whatever, is being hunted, and must use her powers to protect herself, or like just kind of spitballing all these random phrases, but brainstorm a bunch of these kind of random phrases and then see which ones you like to paste together. You can even put them on sticky notes and move them around and play that way. Sometimes that can help, but you kind of want to get the stakes in there. That you know is basically being hunted all along for whatever reason, and maybe that they want her for her abilities. They're probably going to ask you, somebody will probably, what are her abilities? It's probably something they're going to ask you as well. What are her abilities?
Sorry, I had some noise in my room. Her abilities is supernatural strength and the ability to create sound and light.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that if you can work in the stakes that she's being hunted, and that kind of ties it together somehow, but you're going to want to have to play with it some more. All right, let's see how we're doing. We got a bunch more in here, huh? A spy school failure, Jane faces memory erasure and a newborn life. When the enemy's top minion joins her church, she could be a hero at the cost of destroying his new life. Memory minions join her church. Let's see. Michelle, are you here?
Yeah. Yeah, I got video off because I've got light coming through my window, so it's messing up the screen.
I don't know why I feel like I need to talk to someone.
Okay, well,
no, it's fine.
We'll see if it works. Okay.
No, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean you to turn it on. I just meant, it's just funny. I feel like, where are you? I want to talk to your name on the screen. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. spy school failure. So explain to me what the church has to do with the spy school.
Okay, let's see, there's so many layers to this thing, because the story is basically launching what I hope to be a series that's going to be snarky. It's going to have silly humor, about Jane ends up being put in charge of a school for a new generation of superheroes. And she thinks she flunked her final assignment at spy school. But what happened was she was demonstrating superhero talents that she didn't know she had. So she thinks, oh no, they're going to erase my memory. They've got me put in this boring assignment. This private school and run by a church is sitting on top of the doorway to the underground headquarters of the spy agency she works for. So she thinks, she's stuck going to the wholesale club and getting supplies and picking up everybody's lunch, but actually she's just being tested to find out, what her new talents are. Well, then the evil Dr. No Way shows up, and he registers his daughters at the school that she's working at. And so she gets assigned to watch him and get close to him and find out what he's up to. And she realizes he's a family man. He wants to get away from the evil overlord, but.
Okay, you've got lots of cool stuff here. So what would you say is the story goal? Like, what is the goal that we know the story's ended that's going to be solved?
Okay. Well, she finds out, first of all, that she's not a failure. She's considered herself a failure her whole life. She considers herself a nobody. There's a whole bunch of crazy backstory to what created this new generation of superheroes. And
is there a antagonist? Is there something that she's trying to stop or solve by the end of the story?
Okay, well, the enemy, the big overlord, is really bad. It's bad humor. The evil overlord is BL-Zbob Industries. No. So yeah, you can see the snarky humor. Started out, her name started out as Bond Servant, Jane Bond Servant, and I've toned that stupidity down a bit. So the spy, the evil overlord's top scientist is trying to break away from him and raise his two daughters in safety. And she ends up helping them escape. The evil overlord is about to catch them. And she and the agency, she has to prove to the agency that Dr. No Way is reformed and he does want to be on the right side. And he and his daughters escape to a new life, new identity. And her bosses finally tell her, no, you silly girl, would we put you in charge of all this work and give you all these secrets if we thought you were a failure? And here's your new assignment. And that hopefully launches the series.
Okay, so here's what I think will help is if you go at it from like when I don't know if you need to put in that she's a spy school failure. I think you want to do something like when Jane takes on training a new class at spy school, she discovers that one of the enemy's children are in her class. I might even be giving too much to it. Might do something like Jane is supposed to be teaching spies and training. However, one of her students is the child of a
evil scientist.
Evil scientist trying to reform his ways. Can she help him prove that he is wanting to be good before
Yeah.
Beelzebub cat catches him back. It takes him back, and or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to focus on that overall plot. You have a lot of other cool things going on, but if you mention them all, it gets too confusing. So if you can somehow try to just focus on Jane's trying to help this guy who's trying to reform his ways, but somebody's going to try to stop them.
Okay, so it's first Dr. No Way has to prove to her that he is reformed, then she has to prove to her bosses that he is reformed.
Right, but you could leave that he has to prove it to her. You could just make it sound like when Jane wants to help Dr. No, a reformed evil minion, she has to help, they have to work together to prove or whatever.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
Okay, I've been going at this from the wrong approach.
Well, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. It refines a few things.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is awesome, guys. I'm going to break in real quick. We're at an hour and we still have a few. Really, I've read all of them and they're all really good. Kind of like Jill was saying, it makes you want to say, okay, well, what happens? Tell me more. So they're really, really good. So one of the things Lisa suggested is put those in the realm sphere. You can do that in the conference section, or you can do it in the membership, the Prime membership section, and we can work through them kind of offline so that we can, keep the party going. We'll keep this party going, but I think we're going to probably call it an evening. And honestly, hearing you go through everyone else's too is like hugely. It helps solidify, and at least in my mind, I'm sure everybody feels the same way. It helps you solidify in your mind. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I know what I need to do now. So yeah, this has been amazing, but I know we could probably go all night. So so we will call it a night, but seriously, guys, it would be so much fun to do this, continue this on. So just pop over to Realms here and put those in there, and let's work through them that way, if that works for you guys. So so Jill, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving a wonderful PowerPoint. And thank you. It's so generous for you to give that to us. Great resource. So that'll be perfect going forward. Everyone, be sure you join us next Tuesday, same time, or Wednesday, Jenny. Is it Wednesday for you, sweetheart? Yeah, okay, in Australia. So join us next time. We're going to be going over blurbs with Jenny Napolito. Just phenomenal, and she'll be able to help us go from loglines to a little bit bigger. So that'll be great. Appreciate y'all this evening. And thank you, Jill, again, so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep.